Guys, this movie is a life changer. Please watch it. Trust me. So Unbreakable came out in 2000, which was kind of an odd time for comic book movies. And by odd, I mean they were basically non-existent, at least to the extent that they are today, where every time an Avengers movie comes out or a DC movie comes out, it's this really big thing, and everyone's really looking forward to the next one, and it's just so prominent in today's culture. That was not the case at all when Unbreakable came out, and not very many people saw it right away. It wasn't very well liked right away. It kind of took a while for it to enter the stratosphere the way it should, for people to warm up to it. And I'm really glad that it's really getting the proper attention now. People are finally realizing how great this movie is, because there's a sequel out for it, and there's another sequel that's coming out this weekend. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Anyway, it's about damn time this movie is getting some recognition. So the main story of Unbreakable is a guy named David Dunn who survives a train accident, and he's the only survivor. Not only is he the only survivor, he doesn't have a single scratch on him. And for some reason, he doesn't think that much of it. This guy named Elijah Price, who basically sees himself as the opposite of David Dunn. He breaks really easily. I think he said something like 50-something broken bones in his life. It's insane. The guy has some kind of disease where the bone density isn't right, and he doesn't produce enough protein or something, and his bones break very, very easily. So he's always in it with a cane or in a wheelchair, and he notices this David Dunn, and he's like, this guy seems like the exact opposite of me. He cannot break, and I always break. And he's telling David about the story, and David doesn't believe it. And he's like, oh, no. I've been sick before. I've been hurt before. I lost my football career to an injury. And then he realizes, you know what? Maybe I actually wasn't hurt. Maybe this guy is onto something. Maybe I am some kind of superhuman being, and I've lived my life for, I don't know how old he is, 40, probably. I mean, it's got to be 40, right? And he never noticed that he's basically indestructible, except for one thing: water. He has a weakness to water, which Elijah attributes to, like Superman's kryptonite. Every hero has a weakness, and every hero has an arch villain who is on the opposite spectrum of him. And this movie is really about David Dunn kind of realizing how special of a person he is. And the scene that really makes him realize it, in my opinion, is a scene where he is lifting weights and his son is down there helping him out, and he lifts, I don't know, he benches like 250 or something. And he's like, oh, that's the most I've ever benched. And he's like, that's too much, that's dangerous, take it off. And the kid, we think he takes it off. David Dunn lifts it, and we realize the kid's put more on. And he keeps putting more and more until he uses all the weights they have. They start adding on like paint cans. And he's realizing, wow, I can keep doing this, and it's not really fazing me at all. So by the time he finally realizes that he has a special power, he uses it to do some good things. Because he, not only is he very strong, very, indestructible, but he also, when he touches people, he can see bad things that they have done. So he goes around basically in the street or in a big building or whatever he can find where there's a bunch of people, and searches for someone that's done something really bad, like murder.
What do you...
And he wants to have his own version of vigilante justice. Finally fulfilling his destiny, he he had said that he had woken up basically every day feeling sad, incomplete, like he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. And Elijah tells him, you have to fulfill your destiny. You have to go out and start doing some good, doing some justice for these really bad people that deserve it. And I have to talk about the acting here. Samuel Jackson as Mr. Glass is amazing. This guy is not someone who just goes around saying, motherfucker, all the time. No, he can do something like this, which is very different than most roles he usually plays, and he does a fantastic job as this broken, physically and mentally, man who is also very smart, and he's really set in his ways to a point where he is willing to do some things that aren't necessarily good. I'm not going to get into a ton of specifics here, but basically he is so determined to prove that he's right that he does things that he probably shouldn't be doing. Bruce Willis as David Dunn also gives one of the best performances of his career. Now, a lot of people say he's kind of sleepwalks through this movie, and to that I say, that's kind of the point of the character. This guy his marriage isn't working out. He doesn't have a purpose in life. He doesn't understand really where he's going. He's just kind of working his way through every day and just going day to day and not having a real direction until Elijah comes along. So I think he portrayed perfectly what he was supposed to do in this movie. His kid also does a pretty good job. Kid actors, I think I mentioned this before, but kid actors can really be hit or miss. And he does a good job. His wife, played by Robin Wright, also does a really good job. But it's really about David Dunn and Elijah Price. And the acting overall in this movie is damn near perfect for what they were trying to do. The main thing about this movie, though, is that it's a whole new take on the superhero genre. If you tell someone, I'm going to watch a superhero movie, and they get all excited, that might be a little bit misleading. This movie it's an origin story about a guy who is superhuman, but it is very, very slow. And that's about the only real negative I have with this is a very slow-paced movie. It is definitely not a ton of action. It's not very exciting, but I think for what it's trying to achieve, it does that very well. I think the slow pace is what this type of movie needs, because it's not about someone who goes around fighting crime, at least not yet. It's about someone discovering himself and discovering why he's here, and it's about someone else finding his purpose.
You know what the scariest thing is? To not know your place in this world.
It's really, I mean, these two characters are really they're on the same curve, but just different ends of it. I think that's an actual quote from the movie, but it applies so well because they're so different, yet so similar. They're both just trying to find their place in life, and they both, I think the difference is, though, is that Mr. Glass, he believes in this type of thing more than David Dunn does. Mr. Glass is a guy that grew up reading comics his entire life, and he believes that comic books are kind of exaggeration of the truth. So he sets out to find someone who is different, like him, so he can prove to himself and to the world that people that are not the same as normal people, super people, different people, exist in the real world and that they should be noticed. One more thing I have to mention about this movie, though, is the score. This has one of the best scores in a movie, period, in my opinion. That main Unbreakable theme is just amazing. Every time I hear that, I get goosebumps. That theme in the end that happens when we get that little twist, I'm not going to get into spoilers, is perfect.
Now that we know who you are, I know who I am.
The themes of this movie are kind of a mixture of this heroic, very kind of almost Supermanish theme and this more kind of dour, dark theme that fits, for the most part, the overall tone of the movie. And I think they captured that perfectly. Guys, I'm going to be straight up with you. Unbreakable is the best movie I have reviewed on my channel yet. It is fantastic. It is a completely different take on the comic book genre, but it is a comic book movie through and through. Even though it isn't your typical, there's almost no humor in here. There's very little action. It's slow, but I think that works perfectly for what this movie is trying to do. So I'm going to give Unbreakable an 8.5 out of 10. Guys, have you seen Unbreakable? If so, what do you think? Please leave a comment below. And if you haven't seen it, please watch it. This is a really good movie. If you find yourself a little bored early on, stick with it. You'll understand later what this movie was really going for. And once you're through it, I think it'll work very well for you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and stick around. I got more stuff coming quickly. And hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and spread the word. And I will see you soon.